Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. We've got about 6 minutes before we get started here with Plugin Roundup for July. As you all are starting to come in, let me give you the link for the handout, which is currently being elusive. There we go. There is the link for the handout, and I'm going to pause just for a moment and get our captions started. And again, welcome to everybody. If you're just joining us in Zoom, we've got about 5 minutes before we get started. I'm getting our captions set up now. Give me just a moment to get all that going. We're just about there. There's a few steps involved in this process. All right, captions should be working now. And they are. So once again, welcome everybody. If you are just joining us in Zoom, pop open the chat and say hello. The link to the handout is now there in the chat as well, if you'd like to grab that. So you have all the links and all that sort of thing. Just about 4 minutes to go before we get started officially here. Got a pretty good list for you today, I think. Speaking of which, I should probably open up the list. So I have those. Always a good thing. So yes, if you are in the US, hope you had a nice Independence Day weekend. Oh my, we have the wrong title. Still says June. Need to fix that really quickly. Totally missed that earlier. So again, welcome everybody. If you're just joining us in Zoom, pop open the chat and say hi. Tell us where you're logging in from today. Good to see everybody. I am fixing the the title on the handout because it still said June, and we wouldn't want to confuse anybody. Because I am confusing enough as it is. So I hope your week has started off well. And if you're in the States, hopefully you got to take a nice day off yesterday. Enjoy a nice bit of food and fun with some folks that whose company you enjoy. I am just about to have that handout updated. All right, so if you need the handout, just follow that link and you'll be able to grab this handout, which now has the correct title on it. If you have the original one, you now have a collector's edition for the July 2022 plugin roundup. All right, just about ready to get started. We're about a minute and a half out. Yes, yes. Rather warm here in the southern part of the U.S. right now. Just a little bit warm. Not that that's out of the ordinary. All right, less than a minute to go now. If you're just joining us in Zoom, make sure you pop open that chat window and say hi. Got several really, really good ones today. Just about ready to start here. Oh, have we now? Is Paul now? He's got the moniker APT because, why not? All righty, whatever. Okay, it's 3 minutes after. Let me pause just for a moment so we have a good place to cut the recording, and we will begin. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the July 2022 plugin roundup here on iThemes Training. My name is Nathan Ingram. I am the host here at iThemes Training, and each month we take a look across all the things that have been added to the WordPress plugin directory over the last month or so. And we try to bring you a fun list of interesting plugins that may or may not be useful for what you're trying to do in your work with WordPress. Usually we have several really good ones, and I think this month is certainly no exception to that. If you're just joining us in Zoom, make sure you have the chat window open and take a look, because I've just shared the handout. That Google Drive link is there. If you're watching this on the replay, click the download handout button right underneath the video, and that will give you this list of our plugins for this month. So let's get started, shall we, with a plugin called WP Remote Users Sync. Now, you folks may have to help me with this, because it seems like in a recent office hours, we had somebody ask questions about synchronizing users in WordPress. And this, I can't remember if it was this one. This may have come out of that discussion, or it's one that I found afterwards that allows you, Karen, it was you. That's right. It allows you to synchronize users between multiple WordPress sites. Now, there have been some plugins over the years. As a matter of fact, the one that I used to use to do this stopped being supported. And so we actually just merged two sites together so we wouldn't have this issue anymore. But this is a really great plugin, seems to work perfectly, that allows you to keep in sync users on two different WordPress installs. And actually multiple ones. You can stack them up, I believe. It's pretty cool. So let's take a look at this one. Ooh, that window's too big. There we go. All right, so let's have a quick look here at WP Remote Users Sync. And let's see. First, we know we activate the plugin. Always the most first and most important step in this process. WP Remote User Sync. And once we do that, we get a menu item right here under Settings. And notice I have done this already. I've synchronized a site that's called dev.wpnathan.com. And it's essentially a mirror of the WP Nathan site, just so we have a couple of things to play with here. So I need to log into this one as well. Let me get that. Should have had this done already. And I did on a separate browser profile, but that's all right. All right, so you need to have both the plugin installed on both sites. And once you do, it works really, really well. Actually, this one may already be active. Let's see. Yes. All right, so notice what we have here. On the dev site, it's synchronized with WP Nathan. On WP Nathan, it's synchronized with dev. And so what's really nice here, here's all your settings. You can choose what you want to happen. So for example, on outgoing actions from WP Nathan to WP Dev, I want to synchronize their login and log out. If they log in or log out, we can synchronize that. Create users, update users, delete users, changing passwords, roles, and other user metadata that's pretty interesting. And also, you can, so like this can happen on one site or not the other. So for example, if I create a user on WP Nathan, maybe I don't want to synchronize that created user, but if a user is updated from the other site, like I don't want to know on this site if this site creates users, but I want to know if they update their information or passwords or whatever. So like you can change what information you're passing back and forth. The next thing you need to do is make sure that the encryption keys are the same between your two sites. And this is just random, string of characters, which I'm going to delete because you people will probably stop this video and, go back and copy the things. Anyway, not that anybody would do that. Certainly not no, of course you wouldn't do that. Anyway, you make sure the keys are the same, and then that's all you have to do. Like, that's it. It works really, really well. So for example, let's go over here and let's just look at our users. You'll notice that they are very, very similar. Matter of fact, they are synchronized. There's 5 users here, and clicking back and forth, see there is 0 change in the tabs, right? But let's say our customer on this site, for whatever reason, changes their name to Mr. Nathan is going to be this person's name. So we will save this. And then immediately, without doing anything else, on the other site, the dev site, we refresh and look, boom, it updated just like that. Like, it just happens. Whenever WordPress fires a function that updates the user, then it pushes that change back and forth based on your selections. It's really, really cool, and it just works. So highly recommended. It works with delete too. So like we've got this this vestigial user from when we did give WP right here. This give WP, let's just delete this one. And I'm going to attribute all content to me because apparently that user has some content. And if I delete that user, it's synchronizing right now. It's taking just a second. Refresh. Boom, they're gone. Just like that. So this is really helpful if you have a network of sites, or maybe you have some sub-sites that a company uses, and it'll just keep everything in sync, right? So yeah, really nifty. Chris is asking, do you see any downside to syncing users on sites? I mean, you only where it makes sense, right? So maybe you have a main site where there's a store, and then you have a sub-site that is a membership site, right? But you want to keep those users in sync. You can totally do that with this plugin. So for example, if somebody makes a purchase, or like they, if they have a user on a main site where there's WooCommerce running and they update their password there, but there's also a membership site where there's restricted content and so forth, that password change, you could just reflect it between the two. So it's transparent. It happens right behind, nobody realizes it's going on. It just totally works. So that is WP Remote Users Sync. It is the best solution for this problem that I've seen in recent years. Pretty cool. John, so would this work in keeping a developing dev site to an existing site? This only works for users, right? Only users, not posts and pages and those sorts of things. This is only for users. Roy, also where I have a dozen sites where you can keep your password updated. I mean, I don't think I'd use this for that. I think I would just manage those sites. This is for like, if you've got a bunch of users logging, different, I don't know that I would use this for my personal passwords updating. Like, I wouldn't have the same password on multiple sites if I'm a developer. You'd want to keep your, your unique passwords between lots of different sites, unless there's a good reason why that I just don't understand why you would want to do that. This is, you're opening up communication between sites. So the security risk on this is higher than a standard WordPress install, but it's not super high risk either. So just factor all that in. Does that make sense? Any questions or comments? Any more on WP Remote Users Sync? Pretty cool plugin. Okay. Moving right along to Ben. If only this could extend to WooCommerce. It does for users. And because it would not, it won't keep in sync your order information, but it does keep in sync the users and their user meta. So by the way, when you look at this site, because it has WooCommerce installed, there's all this user meta like shipping address, billing address. That's all going to carry over if you have selected the user meta right there in the metadata. So it will pass that additional user meta that WooCommerce adds. So pretty cool. Okay, moving down the road to the next one is called LottieFiles. LottieFiles. Now, just a little note. We did do a great webinar a few months back with the new Cadence Lottie block. And this is built into Cadence blocks. So you may not even need this plugin if you're a Cadence blocks user. It does have a couple of additional features that are pretty cool. But Lottie, if you're not aware, is it is a file standard that allows for very small file size animations. LottieFiles is a, well, that opened in the wrong window. LottieFiles is a repository of free Lottie animations. So this is a Lottie, for example. It was developed by Airbnb, and they've open sourced it. And yeah, so like you can search for somebody give me an animation to search for and be nice. This is a family show. What shall we search for? A bulldozer. That's like off the wall, but why not? Okay, bulldozer. So there's our bulldozer. Look at that. Now, like a lot of, for example, free stock art sites, you'll also find down here, there's some premium ones mixed in that they wanted you to sign up for a thing. And there's not a whole, there's, premium animations here. A lot of these are premium, which is unfortunate. So we don't have price free. We can change it there. So not many free bulldozer Lotties. Lottie-da. Let's try something else. Let's do something simpler like, how about dog? Dog. Dogs that are free. So let's say here's a dog right there, right? So LottieFiles is a big repository, like a free sharing site for Lottie animations, right? So let's go, and this is their plugin. So it's going to bring LottieFiles library into WordPress, which is one thing it does a little better than the Cadence block for Lottie. Now, of course, it does mean you have to have another plugin. That's okay if you want this additional feature, which I'm about to show you. So we've seen, for example, how some stock art libraries allow, like Unsplash. There's an Unsplash plugin, and you can search Unsplash right from within the media library. This does something like that for Lottie animations. So let's activate LottieFiles, and let me just bump over to the page where we have that one set up. Let's see, there's some settings that you don't really have to deal with. But if we were to look at, well, I used to have a page there for that. That's all right. We'll just drop them in right here. Yes, there are a lot of Lottie animations available. So if we search for Lottie, you'll notice there are two blocks. This one is the Cadence block. This one is the Lottie block. I'm going to click there, and notice what we can do. We can like bring in an existing Lottie file if that a Lottie file is a JSON file. And so if there's already a Lottie upload in your media library, you can find it right there. You can upload your own Lottie, or you can even insert it from the URL, like right here. Let's see, here's the Lottie animation URL. You can just copy that, and you can drop that URL in right here, and that will give you your Lottie. Look at that. We'll turn off our controls, and there's your little pooch. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Now, another way to do this is the browser itself. So if we go back to Lottie, discover animation, look, we now have a UI directly into the Lottie site right here in WordPress. So this is an equal opportunity show, so let's do cats. And so here's our cats. There's a 404 page with a cat in a whatever that is. That's interesting. All right, here's a nice cat. Let's insert that animation, and there it is. So I will turn off the controls. So isn't that nice? Paul, how are Lotties with accessibility? It's a great question. So let's see here. Let's update our page. It is a, let's see. I wonder if, is there, I don't see it here. Is there alt text for Lottie Animations? I don't know that there is. Let's just take a look at how it renders. That's a great question. Let's look at how it renders on the front end. It is an SVG file. I'm not seeing any alt text here. There's a good question of in the media library, does it give you alt text there? Like it gives you a title. So you could use a title probably, but this is not a alt textable image. Yeah, Lottie is actually an HTML tag, which is interesting. Yeah, I know title doesn't replace alt text, but alt text apparently is not supported on a Lottie JSON file. Phoebe says it might be possible in the cadence block. So let's take a look at that and see. Cadence gives us an ARIA label. So that's what we would use there. So that's a big negative here to this LottieFiles. I didn't think about that before. Cadence Lottie block does give us an ARIA label. This would be good for, this would be a good developer suggestion for them for sure. Manu, why is it important to have alt text? Because if you are visually impaired and you are using a screen reader, you have no idea what this, you're missing context of this animation, even describing, what it is, just like you would want alt text on an image. Is there a way to shut off movement? Well, in that case, probably you would not use a Lottie. Or maybe it's just, a lot of Lotties are very subtle movements like this. It is doubtful this would cause a person who might have issues with major animations. Yeah. So really good conversation about this. I would encourage you to explore Lottie, whether it's with the cadence block or LottieFiles, and just see, certainly start to work out some of those accessibility issues, and yeah, pretty nifty. And Elizabeth, yes, you can control when the movement occurs. Only playing on hover, for example, only playing as the page scrolls. This is the cadence block again. And also the plugin here, LottieFiles, also has similar controls. All right, any other questions or comments on LottieFiles? We got to start moving here for time's sake. All right, moving down to the next one, admin posts grid. Now, when I saw this, it was immediately apparent that some of you are going to like this and some of you are not going to like this. So let's take a quick look at this. I think it's interesting. It's an interesting way to visualize the post list. Admin post grid. It's going to give us a new top level menu item over here. And we'll do a quick vote here in the chat. Here's our post grid. Look at that. So if you've got if you've got a blog or something, this is a visualization of your post list. It's the same as post and all posts, except rather than a table view, it is giving you more of a grid view. And you can decide what's going to be here. You can show authors, categories, tags, so on and so forth, how many columns you want. It does have a few basic themes that are here. Beth wants to make it 6 columns. So let's do that. There you go. And notice you do have access to the quick edit menu in a light box here. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so let me, so more people than I thought are liking this. So let me just give me a yes or a no. I am very interested in this. Yes or a no? That yes is really, that is really something. So it only works on posts. It doesn't work, for example, on WooCommerce products or custom post types or that sort of thing. Yeah, Doug, it would kind of be nice on a custom post type, wouldn't it? But I don't think that is, yeah, it's only on posts. Yeah, interesting. Like everybody said yes. Maybe those of you that said no or, you know, whatever. I don't know. So there you go. It's, you know, you can choose a theme if you'd like, which basically just changes the colors and stuff. But there you go. Yes. Now, if there are hundreds of posts, so Sue says that would work if there weren't hundreds of posts. However, I don't know. Does this make it easier to find posts just based on the featured image? If you have a lot of posts, you might like it, actually. And of course, you can change your pagination. So look here, we'll just make 4 pages per 4 items per page. So you do have pagination here, so you could break it up if you wanted to. Yeah, this, I would say, I don't think I'd use this one unless you were using featured images on your site. I think featured images is really what makes this helpful. All right, any other questions or comments on this one? This is admin posts grid. Okay, next up are a few WooCommerce plugins, beginning with one called product quantity settings. Now, we did one very similar to this last month, and you may remember it. It was a drop-down selector for the quantity field. And this was helpful if, for example, you have a product that could only be bought in multiples of 2 or 5 or 10 or whatever. Remember that one? Like you would click the little drop down and you would get the choices that were, you know, they would increment based on, you know, what your specific settings were for that product. Now, this is similar in that you can set ranges, like it has to be this minimum up to this maximum, and then it might increase in steps of 2 or 5 or 10 or whatever. So product quantity settings, pretty neat little plugin. Let's go take a look at it. This is one that you'll either use or not use, right? Like this is not something you'd put on probably your basic WooCommerce install, only if you have certain products that are sold in ranges or multiples. So let's just take a look. We'll just go to our Scooby Snacks product here. And notice right here, there is this was one I'd already edited before. So let me just refresh. By default, you go down here under product in general, and there is a quantity settings checkbox. So we'll activate the configuration. And let's just say you've got to buy at least 5 Scooby Snacks, and you can only buy 20. That's it. And the range is the increment, right? So let's say we have to buy these in boxes of 5. So you have to buy at least 5, max 20 at a range or increments of 5. So let's just take a quick look at how this actually fleshes out. Now, the one we did last month has a drop-down list. This actually still uses the regular quantity field, but notice it started at 5, and as we increment up, look, it goes in 5 up to 20, and then it stops. Isn't that cool? So again, not helpful for a typical e-commerce site, but in a niche situation where you have to, you know, control minimum maximum quantity, or things have to be bought in certain multiples, this is a great plugin. I think it's better than the one last month, in my opinion. So that's it. Product quantity settings for, great. Tanya, exactly. Great for wholesalers. That's product quantity settings for WooCommerce. Any other questions or comments on that one? Pretty cool stuff there. It's one to kind of keep in your back pocket and remember that it's out there. if you ever have a WooCommerce build that needs this sort of thing. All right, let's go down to the next one, which is Booking and Rental Manager for WooCommerce. Okay, so who was it that was working on the WooCommerce site where it was like a toy rental situation or whatever? Can't remember who that was. Anyhow, this is a great little add-on for WooCommerce that even in it does have a pro version that's coming. I don't think it's been released yet. The developers mentioned pro, but the link doesn't go anywhere. And they do have a bunch of other, by the way, really cool, looks like WooCommerce add-ons. I'd never seen this developer before, Mage People. They got a lot of, it looks like some pretty interesting WooCommerce editions. But what this one is going to allow you to do, even in the free version, it's a pretty capable out-of-the-box solution for renting things through WooCommerce. So let's jump in and activate this plugin. It is Booking and Rental Manager. So we'll just activate this and let's take a look at right here under Rent Item. Now, these do not go in as traditional WooCommerce products. So they do show up. They can, I think actually they do show up in WooCommerce products. Yes, see, they show up here, but they don't appear in your store. You show these in a different way via some short codes and some, it explains it on the plugin documentation page. But like, so for example, here is our amazing car. And let's see. Anybody identify the source of this image? The old time TV people know where that car came from. Anyway, so right here, there's one available. We can add an icon to it. You can add your gallery. Yep, Beverly Hillbillies. You can add your gallery of images. Here's where you configure the pricing. You know, you can also set categories of rental items, just like you'd have product categories. What is the hourly rate? What is the daily rate? So 12 and 125. You can also change day and week configurations for how many hours and so forth are involved. You can add pickup and drop off locations. I mean, it does a lot of different things. So let's look at how this actually looks on the front end. Oh, you know what? Okay. So perfect example of something to do. Notice that we have a new slug that's been defined, rent, for this custom post type for these cars. Whenever that happens, and if you come up with a 404 trying to deal with one of those, all you need to do is reset your permalinks. So this is a WordPress thing. It's not just a this plugin thing. I'm just going to go to settings and permalinks and resave, and that's going to fix this problem. Boom, there we go. So here's the front end. I mean, out of the box, it's not bad. And you can deal with some of this with CSS if you want to. We can choose our, it shows our pricing. We can choose our pickup and drop off locations. We're going to choose a pickup date of tomorrow at 9 a.m. And let's drop it off the next day at 12 p.m. So look, it calculated 2 days and 3 hours. Look at that. If I go back to 9 a.m., it knows it's just 2 days. And so it calculates based on our daily and hourly rate. We can have our add-ons here. And it just uses the standard WooCommerce payment system to do the booking. It is pretty cool. Yeah, John, it's got the drop-off date set as a European date, which is really interesting because, oh no, this one is the same way. I'm sure that is in one of the settings that I just didn't address. Yeah, and this is a free plugin. This just works right out of the box. So that is Booking and Rental Manager for WooCommerce, and lots of Beverly Hillbilly lyrics in the chat. So yeah. Any other questions or comments on this one? If you're doing any kind of a booking or rental site, this is a pretty good plugin, it seems, to work. Tanya, does it know that the car is unavailable to anyone else during that time? That is an interesting question. Yes. So let's see. Where is the inventory? There is an inventory setting under, quantity available 1, right there. So if you have weed eaters that you're renting, you can have quantity 10, and once all 10 are out for that period, it just knows. The magic in the back end figures out that from, if I'm going to rent from 3 to 5 p.m. on this day, that there is 2 available during that time. So pretty nifty. Booking and rental manager for WooCommerce. Any other questions or comments on this one? And by the way, the person, I can't remember who it is, one of our members was, they had this book or toy loaning site. You could totally, like, this would power that whole site in just 0 price, but you could still reserve it and boom, it's out, right? And, it's one nice little addition would be when it's, when the current rental period ends, maybe being able to show that. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Okay, let's move right along to our next plugin, another WooCommerce add-on. This is a simple little add-on, but I like it a lot. It is called WooCommerce Hide Cart When Empty by WP Fix-It. Can anybody guess what this does? It's going to hide the cart when it's empty. So when we go to the front end of our website here, let's just get to our homepage. You'll notice that I have up in the menu bar a cart icon, right? Because there is one thing in the cart. Awesome. But if I take it, the cart just shows a 0. Well, maybe I don't want to show a cart up there unless there is an item in the cart. So that's what this plugin does. So let's go back and first of all, activate this. I'm actually going to activate the next 2 to save us a little bit of time. So WooCommerce Hide Cart When Empty. And when we go here, it's under Settings and Cart Icon. Now I have pre-filled the class for the Cadence header cart, which happens to be Cadence-header-cart. You find that by just inspecting the element and drilling in, if you're using a different theme or something else to place that cart, you're just going to want to find, the most likely, and you can experiment with this if you need to, but just, the most likely CSS class for this. Let's see. Right there. Cadence header cart is the ultimate wrapper div that's talking about the cart, right? So when I do this, save changes, now it's at 0 items. If I refresh the page, that cart icon goes away until I go back to, and I add, let's just say I'm going to add some downloadable kittens. Boom, there it appears. Isn't that cool? Really, really neat stuff. So it's a nice little feature. Doesn't take a lot to do. Just define your class. And if you're using Cadence, you've got it already. And that's it. It works. It hides the cart icon when empty. Cool stuff. Any questions or comments on that one? WooCommerce Hide Cart When Empty by WP Fix-It. All right, another fun little simple but useful plugin by the same developer is WooCommerce Custom Coupon Messages. Now, this is a section, for whatever reason, of WooCommerce that a lot of plugins do not allow you to customize the text for. All of the messages in WooCommerce that relate to couponing. And here, this plugin basically allows you to change that text to whatever you want it to be. So let's see, right here, I activated the plugin a minute ago, and we're at WooCommerce settings and coupon messages. And right here, it's basically just a bunch of fields that has every single default message for WooCommerce that applies to coupons, and it lets you type different text in. And it also tells you right here what the default text is. So please enter a coupon code. The default here is enter a coupon code. Let's just say something else. If you want to pay less, enter your code. So we'll just add that. And if we go now into our checkout process, well, that didn't work. What happened here? That is interesting. I thought I saved the setting, but maybe I didn't. Maybe that's interesting. Yet another case of it worked earlier. Huh. All right, file that one under mystified. Maybe a plugin conflict, yeah. But anyhow, for sake of time, I'm not going to linger here, but you can see all the different messages that are involved. And even if it's just for changing to a different language that suits better your intended audience, really, really good. I don't know. I do not have ShopKit on the site at all, Cadence ShopKit. So anyhow, this is when we could go forever trying to debug this, but I'm just going to press on. WooCommerce custom coupon messages, pretty cool. When it works. Don't blame the developer. I think this is on my end. Okay, moving down the list to another one of these plugins that attach you to a stock art library of one kind or another. We've done a bunch of these over the years on iThemes training, and this is a really good one. I like this a lot. It uses Unsplash as the library, which is it's a library I enjoy. And you don't have to deal with any API keys. It just talks directly to Unsplash, no problem. And it is a Gutenberg block. So if this only works in Gutenberg, let's go and open up our page to drop in an image. So there's an image that came in. It does have its own block. So if we look for images, wait a minute. Once again, let's be sure we activate the plugin before we demonstrate the plugin. Otherwise, it's really hard to demonstrate the plugin. And refreshing. All right, what am I messaging? It's photos. Unlimited photos. There it is. So there's our block. Oh, I was searching earlier for peach cobbler, so it remembered my last search, which is a feature. You can also search for various things here, but we had some really great peach cobbler here for the 4th of July yesterday. It was quite good. So let's just grab us a nice basket of peaches, shall we? So we'll import that image. Takes a minute because it's pulling the image from Unsplash into the WordPress media library. And it's done. And there it is. And notice what it's done here. It has pulled in the correct attribution to meet the Unsplash license. And it has also, if we take a look at it, pulled in the alt text that was supplied by Unsplash. Now, this is actually incorrect. It should be red fruit. It's actually not really red. We could say peaches if we wanted to. But there you go. It pulls in the author. It does the appropriate links to preserve your Unsplash licensing well. And yeah, it pulls in the alt text, however it's defined at Unsplash. And once it's in, it works just like any other image module. So let's, medium image, 50% size. Yeah, pretty cool. So that is unlimited photos, nice UI. You're using the block editor, pretty cool stuff. Tanya, does it optimize the photos? No, you would need some sort of image optimizer, like in most cases, to optimize the image. This is just going to pull the big image just directly from Unsplash into your media library. Now, WordPress, of course, has a basic image optimizer in that it's going to size down the image to a max size of 2,570 or whatever that number is. So it's not going to pull a 10,000 pixel, the full, if it's got one of those giant images on Unsplash. WordPress will size it down, but hopefully you're using some sort of image optimizer yourself, like EDub or Short Pixel or, one of the Tiny Ping, one of the others. Any other questions or comments on this one? Unlimited photos. All right, let's move to the next one, which is a simple plugin, but I think it's kind of nice. ITG admin hover menus. So the WordPress admin does have little hover menus. This is a simple little plugin that I don't know that I would necessarily leave it on a live site, but especially during development, when I'm back and forth in a lot of pages, a lot of times, this is, it could be helpful to reducing a few clicks. So activating this plugin, watch what it's going to do. So when I mouse over now the posts grid, look, it gives me the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 posts that I've accessed right there. It puts them right there in the menu. So as I'm developing and I'm bouncing back and forth between pages, it gives you the last several pages right there in the menu. So it just makes accessing your more frequently used pages or posts just one more bit easier. And see, it also works on custom post types like this one. It worked on our rental items right there. It works on WooCommerce products. It just the last several accessed posts in that post type pop up right there. So again, really simple, doesn't really do a lot, but the one thing it does could save you, several clicks, especially as you're developing a site. So that is ITG admin hover menus. Any questions or comments on that one? Pretty cool, right? Okay, next up in the list is ETA. I guess that's the plugin author's initials. Redirect to latest post. So what this jingled a little bell in my brain about something that my friend Kyle over at the admin bar posted about several weeks ago. He was looking for a solution that it could be a single URL that always showed the latest post no matter what. And this plugin totally does that. Like the solution I'd given him was, well, just, make a page and use he was building a site in blocks. So just use a query block that showed the one latest post right there. And then that would work. You could totally do that. And that totally works. But this plugin just solves the problem. Redirect to latest post. So let's just activate this one. And there is it has a couple settings under the permalinks page, which is a great place to put this. Isn't it under here? I thought it was here. Yes, right here. What is the latest post slug? By default, it is latest, which is good. So let's just go to wpnathan.com, latest. And it automatically redirects to the latest post. And the nice thing about this one is it doesn't just show the latest post on a URL like I had suggested. It actually redirects you to the latest post, which is really kind of cool. So let's just add a quick post, shall we? It's going to drop some Ipsum text in here to have something to actually post. So we publish. And now if we go to latest, oh, you know what? Chrome has cached the redirect because Chrome. But if we go in an unused browser, there it is. It just grabs the latest post, which is super helpful, I think. And you can change that to be whatever you want. Now, why would you use this? Well, maybe you want to add a link to your menu for latest post. Maybe you want to have a link in your email bio that says, read my latest post, or a social bio, or so read my latest post, right? Or, whatever. So this does that. And it's super simple, like install, activate, done, domain.com/latest, and it just works. Yeah. So that is ETH redirect to latest post. Any other questions or comments on that one? Pretty cool stuff, this one. Jay, does it show the name of the post? Well, so when you go to whatever /latest, it redirects it to the actual post. So it went to the actual post. Yeah, so John and Karen are both asking, could it be for a custom post type or for a WooCommerce product? You could, I mean, so the short answer is no, not in this plugin. There is actually, though, somebody asked that as a support question. Is it possible to limit to a certain category, for example, like, or, you know, could we have multiple of these links that work for, you know, different things, right? And so out of the box, no, but yeah, like Chris is saying, I bet it's a fairly, I mean, you'd have to know some PHP, right? But to get into that, you know, what it's redirecting to, you'd need to, like, you could update that. It would take a little bit of doing, but like the guts of the plugin are there to be able to fork that and add that functionality. Probably relatively simple if you know a little bit of PHP, or you can search and do some copy paste of PHP. But out of the box, no. All right. Any other questions or comments on redirect to the latest post? Liddy, can redirection the plugin cover this use case? No, because what it's redirecting to will be constantly changing. So the redirection plugin is awesome for redirecting things that never change, right? But if something changes, you have to go in there and manually update the redirect. Like, you could do that every time you publish a post. You could just go in and update the redirect manually, but this just does it automatically. So it's a good question. Anybody else on this one before we move on? All right, next up is a plugin that we talked about in last week's WordPress Accessibility Bootcamp with Amber Heinz from Equalize Digital. This is a free plugin they released to deal with the accessibility problem of opening tabs in a new window. So if you missed that event, or if you're not aware, it's an accessibility issue. If you open up, like, a click opens up a new tab. If someone is using a screen reader on the site, then they get completely lost. It's very easy to get lost because you don't really know that a new tab opened, and so forth. So they've created this plugin to add a notification that this is actually going to open in a new tab. And by the way, this is also something that sites that have major compliance issues, like financial services or other sites, and you've probably seen this, like, you know, there might be an interstitial where you click on an external link and it says that you're going to an external site. We don't, you know, guarantee the blah, blah, blah. You know, you're no longer under our privacy policy in terms of service and all that. Then it goes on to the link, right? So this could be, you know, this kind of lets you know also you're going to a new tab if you click this. So let's activate accessibility new window warnings. All we have to do is activate it. There are no settings, but let me open up a page that has some things on it. And notice what's happened here. So we've got, if we just look at the text of the page, it's a link that's opening in a new tab. Here we have a button that's opening in a new tab, okay? And when we look at the front end, what the plugin has done is two things. It's added this little icon to the end. That's the icon that's the commonly used reference for opens in a new window. And when I overlay the mouse on the link, it also brings up a tooltip that says opens in a new window. If we look at the code here, what we'll notice is we also add, this is a really unfortunate place. It adds an ARIA label. Here is a text link, opens in a new window. And the button is the same way. Here's a button, opens in a new window. Now, here's a button is the text right here. Here is a text link is the text. So it will actually read the text in the link or the button, and append opens in a new window. It's pretty nice. Now, those of you talking about, oh, it should be in it should be in core. Watch this though. I've got an icon block down here, standard block editor icon block. And if it would be standard practice for me to open links in new tabs to go to a social page. Here's the problem. That's not nice, is it? I don't like that. So this is why things aren't added in core. It's when you do something in core, it can be heavy-handed, and we all agree this is a good, we want to make our sites more accessible, but when you do that, it could affect other things. Like you do this one thing over here and it wiggles 5 things over here, and that's a little complicated. So, you get some unexpected results. So, this is something that maybe the developer of the plugin needs to go back and look, oh, you know what, if it's an icon block, we need to, or a social share block, we really don't want to append those icons. So maybe in that block, we only do opens in a new window and we don't append, but I don't know. That's something a developer would have to deal with. Sherry says, so can we leave the open new window and use this plugin and be covered for accessibility while still having a new window for those who like that? Well, yeah, so that's the point of this plugin, is to let you know it's better. This is a debate, right? This was a big discussion last week during the accessibility bootcamp, but and it's a debate in the accessibility circles. Some people say you should never, under any circumstances, ever open links in a new tab. You should always let the user, right click and open in a new tab, or like I do, command click, whatever. Yeah. So this is, this allows you to open things in a new tab and informs people that's what's going to happen. Jay's saying there's a difference between a new window and a new tab. I agree. I'm not sure why this is labeled new window, but I agree it should be a new tab. I mean, technically not a new window. Yeah. Any other questions or comments on this one? All right, almost to the end now. Last couple here. Okay, how many of you recognize this developer's name, Alan Marcoux? You may recognize it. You may not remember where. Alan Marcoux is the one that originally developed the Google Analytics dashboard for WordPress, which is a plugin I've been recommending for years. This was also the plugin that he sold to Exact Metrics, and Exact Metrics cannibalized it. And it's no longer a plugin that many people use. It went from 5-star reviews down to terrible reviews because they essentially bought the user base, I think, of the plugin to try to push their pro upgrade, which, you can do that if you want, but you also tend to lose some market share as a result. Anyway, Alan has developed a new plugin that is basically, it's exactly the same plugin as what used to be Google Analytics dashboard for WordPress, which I loved, but he's also now added Google Analytics 4 to it. So let's go in and activate this one. Paul is asking, does this replace the Gain WP, which is Google Analytics in WordPress? So Gain WP, Paul, is it's a different developer, right? They just pulled the old version before the Google Analytics dashboard was sold and started using that. So this does, in effect, it updates all of that code to include now Google GA4 codes as well. So let me activate this plugin, which is called Analytics Insights. Oh, it's already active. All right. So if I go down here, what you will see is all the UI is exactly the same. So if you were if you're a Gain WP user, or if you're a old school Google Analytics dashboard for WordPress user, everything is the same. The UI is exactly the same. It's very light. I like it a lot. But notice here, we have UA and GA4 both on the site. Now, I just added this earlier, and I doubt we have any actual data yet. But yeah, you'll notice all of this is the same as it used to be. I don't think we have any data yet. No, hasn't been up long enough, but all of the nice graphs, all of those things are just like they used to be. The core code of the plugin is the same. He's just added now GA4 into the mix. So we're going to be talking GA4 next month with David Zimmerman in our Google Analytics Bootcamp, and he's going to give us a lot of good insight, but this is pretty cool. Paul, like I just said, it includes both the UA and the GA4, both UA and GA4 right there in the settings. So you'll link when you go and do the authorization, it brings in both of these where you can lock the properties in. Pretty cool stuff, right? So if you're looking for a plugin that brings those analytics, I call it an executive summary of Google Analytics into the dashboard that even your customers can use, this is a great plugin. I've used it for years, really, really like it. Oh, one little note, plugins like this one will add the tracking code for you and be the thing that embeds the tracking code. I recommend not doing this. And there's a setting here. Let's see, tracking code. Notice how we can do this. Dual tracking. Is it just GA4? Is it Universal Analytics GA3? We'll say dual tracking. Or we can tell it, I don't want you to enable the code at all. Like I use the actual code from Google, and I use the Cadence code snippet area to add that. Most themes have a code snippet place to add that. Or you can use the header footer snippet plugin that's been out there a while. The point being, plugins, whether it's Monster Insights or this one or any of the other Google Analytics plugins, they will occasionally lose communication. How many of you have had that happen? Like it just loses connection to Google for some inexplicable reason, and you don't realize it. Like your analytics just go flat. I had a client contact me one time, 90 days of analytics we lost because the plugin lost connection for some inexplicable reason. And there's nothing you can do at that point. So I never trust the plugin to add, to add the code. Do that the right way. Do that manually as a best practice. Use this plugin to show the reporting within the dashboard. All right. Last but certainly not least is Error Log Viewer by BestWebSoft. So it is a great idea to go from time to time and take a look at the error logs of the sites that you manage. And you'll find those in the root of the site. You'll find other ones sprinkled throughout the WP content area, wherever certain plugins decide to put them, just to see, is some plugin misbehaving, or there problems, whatever. So this is a great little plugin that allows you to view those error logs right from within WordPress. It is Error Log Viewer right there. It adds a top level menu item. And in this case, I don't really mind that. So let's take a quick look, first of all, at our settings. Which of the error logs do we want to view? Well, I've got the PHP error log checked right now, but there's all these other ones as well, like the debug log. Here is some plugin specific error logs. Look at that. So it actually goes in, like here's Restrict Content Pros error log. Here's some WooCommerce logs, a bunch of those. Some of these, by the way, are plugin related. Like this is a plugin we did a few months ago, the TikTok for WooCommerce plugin. It's got a bunch of errors. So let's just take a look at those. You can choose which of these error logs you want to view and monitor. I'm just going to save that. And we'll go over here to the log monitor. And here is our error log. And so I can actually view right here, how many lines, or do I want to view the log from to a certain date, or do I want to view the full file? I can actually save it directly from here as a text file out to my desktop if I want to. But right here, I can just view like what's causing problems. Interesting. from here, I can also look at the other log files that I checked. So I'm going to take a look at this one from that plugin that we did a little while ago. What's going on here? Problem with the API. Couldn't connect with the API, looks like. So it's pretty neat. Now, another little feature this plugin offers, which I think is pretty cool. Oh, by the way, one nice thing about this plugin before I go on to that next feature is that it scans your site and finds all the error logs. So you don't have to go and just know what they are. You can just look at the list and check the ones that you want. Like it went out and found this error log for this plugin that doesn't, it hasn't been on the site for forever, several months. Whenever we did it, well, maybe last month because it was 6.6. Whenever we did TikTok for WooCommerce, that plugin is gone. It scanned the site. It found the log, which is pretty nice. So here's a really helpful thing. If the error log changes, email me. Right now, I don't think I'd want to do that for every site that I manage at all, or I would get lots of emails probably. But if you are trying to figure out some issue on a site, you could say, every hour, if that error log file changes, send me an email so I can go jump in and see if I can figure out what's going on. This is really, really cool. So I like that a lot. You've also got, allowing the plugin to track your usage, but there you go. Pretty neat stuff. Now, there is also a button, I just saw this mentioned in the chat, where you can clear this log file. So it would just wipe the contents of that file right away. So you can do that. That's helpful also, like if you're trying to debug something, just go ahead and clear the log file, if it's the same error over and over and you think you fixed it, clear the log file and see if anything else stacks up there. All right, so that is Error Log Viewer by BestWebSoft. Any other questions or comments on that one? Last call. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this month's plugin roundup. Vlity's asking how resource heavy might it be? Maybe at the very beginning when you first activate it, it's going to go look for all those log files. But after that, I don't think it's going to be very difficult at all. It's just going to, watch for any changes. It's certainly not a plugin that I would want to have on every site. Very valuable if I'm trying to diagnose a problem on a certain site. Okay, that brings us to the end of the plugin roundup for July 2022. So we end with our question, one vote only, please. What is your favorite plugin of the roundup? So let's take a look here. We've got admin post grid, remote users, hover menu, error log, hover menu, accessibility warnings, admin post grid, and error log. Okay, BG settled on admin post grid. I am shocked at how I'm surprised. I really am. Admin post grid's for the win. Look at this. So many votes. I really am. I thought there would be a strong divergence of the crowd on who liked that and who didn't. Analytics insights. So it looks like, let's see here. I'm going to guess there's probably our top three are admin post grid is probably the winner. Then error log is a second, and then accessibility new window warnings as a third. So pretty cool stuff. All right, y'all. We do not have a webinar tomorrow, but Thursday I'm back for office hours. We did just let me get the calendar up here really quickly. We did get a new webinar added to the beginning of the month, next month, which I'll mention. So office hours for members on Thursday. Next, we not have a webinar next Tuesday? Yes, we will have a cadence webinar on Tuesday. I just don't have that detail for you. It'll be posted this week. So, and I'm sure the cadence team will let you know about that as well. But a week from today, it's not on the calendar yet. We will have a cadence webinar. Next Wednesday is our Fly group on systems. We'll be talking about creating systems in our businesses. News Roundup is coming up 2 weeks from today on the 19th. And we will also on the 20th, it's not on the on here either, but we will have a webinar. It is scheduled to be on the new WebAuthn for iThemes security, which will allow you to use those cool things like facial recognition and fingerprint for logging into WordPress. So I expect that to be on the 20th. We have it stubbed in and it should happen. So one last thing, if you are a member, our premium event for this month is Sustainable Support with Ben Meredith from GiveWP. That is going to be an awesome event, all about providing customer support better for the clients that we serve. It's going to be great, whether you're a team of one or a team of multiple people. It's going to be a great event this month. All right, that wraps us up for today. I'm back Thursday at 1 o'clock for office hours. We'll see you then next time on iThemes Training, where we go further together.